You get home after a full day around people, and all you can think about is the moment you can finally close the door. Not because the day went badly, not because you don't love the people in it, but because somewhere inside, a quiet voice has been saying the same thing for hours. I just need to be alone for a little while. And maybe you've been told that's a problem, that needing this much time to yourself is antisocial, or avoidant, or a little cold. That if you were really okay, you wouldn't have to disappear so often. But the science tells a very different story. The need to recharge alone isn't a defect in the way you connect. It's a signal, pointing to a specific set of strengths that tend to show up in people wired exactly like you. Today, we're looking at 5 rare traits that people who recharge in solitude quietly share. See how many of them you recognize in yourself. One quick note before we begin. This is psychology for reflection, not a clinical diagnosis. Needing time alone is a personality trait, not a disorder. Now, let's begin. Before we get to the traits, it helps to understand what's actually happening when you slip away to recharge. Because from the outside, it looks like you're doing nothing. Inside, it's the opposite. In the early 2000s, the neuroscientist Marcus Raichle noticed something surprising about the resting brain. When you stop focusing on the outside world, your brain doesn't power down. A whole network quietly switches on. He called it the default mode network. This is the part of you that reflects, that replays the day, connects scattered thoughts into meaning, and files your experiences into who you are. And it does its deepest work when you're undistracted, alone, quiet, off the clock. So when you retreat to recharge, you're not withdrawing from life. You're giving your mind the one condition it needs to make sense of everything life just threw at it. And here's the part that matters. A mind that spends real, regular time in that inward state tends to grow in specific ways. Which brings us to the first rare trait. The first trait is something a psychoanalyst named Donald Winnicott called, simply, the capacity to be alone. Back in 1958, Winnicott argued something that still sounds almost backwards. The ability to be comfortably alone isn't a sign of being disconnected. It's one of the surest signs of emotional health. His idea was this: we first learn to be alone by feeling safe in the presence of someone we trust. Over time, that safety becomes internal. You start to carry a quiet sense of security with you, so that being by yourself no longer feels like abandonment. It feels like rest. Most people never fully develop this. They need noise, company, a screen, anything to avoid being alone with themselves. But you can sit in your own company and feel at home there. So when you crave solitude, it isn't neediness, and it isn't avoidance. It's the mark of someone with a stable enough inner world to actually enjoy their own presence. Can you be alone with yourself without reaching for a distraction to fill the silence? The second rare trait is one you might not even know you're using. A built-in way to steady your own emotions. For a long time, psychology treated solitude as mostly negative, something dangerously close to loneliness. Then more recently, the researcher Tui-Ving Nguyen and her colleagues actually studied what happens when people choose to be alone. What they found was striking. Chosen solitude has a calming effect they call deactivation. When you step away on purpose, the high-energy feelings, the stress, the overstimulation, the racing agitation reliably come down. The volume across your whole system lowers. For someone like you, this is a quiet superpower most people are missing. When the world becomes too much, you don't need somebody else to fix it for you. You have a reset button, and you know exactly where it is. That's not you running from your feelings. That's you doing, on instinct, what other people pay to learn. Coming back to a calm baseline, on your own terms. When was the last time an hour alone left you feeling completely like yourself again? The third trait is one the world quietly depends on, even as it overlooks it. Independent thinking. The psychiatrist Anthony Storr wrote an entire book pushing back on the idea that we only ever find ourselves through other people. In it, he argued that solitude is where original thought is born. It makes sense when you sit with it. To have your own opinion, you need distance from the crowd's opinion long enough to hear yourself think. People who never spend time alone are constantly absorbing everyone else's certainty. Their thoughts are borrowed, and they don't always know it. But you step away, and in that space, you can tell the difference between what you actually believe and what you were simply handed to believe. That's why quiet, solitary people are so often the ones who see the thing everyone else walked right past. If you're quietly recognizing yourself in these, that feeling is exactly what this channel is for. I'll leave a subscribe button right here for whenever you're ready. When was the last time you changed your mind about something, alone, with no one there to push you? The fourth rare trait is the one history tends to remember. Creativity. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent years studying deeply creative people. Artists, scientists, writers who genuinely shaped their fields. And he noticed a pattern almost all of them shared. They could tolerate, and even crave, long stretches of solitude. This wasn't a coincidence. He found you simply cannot master a craft or let an original idea rise to the surface in a room that never goes quiet. The deep work that creativity asks for only happens when the world stops demanding your attention. So the very thing you're pulled toward, that door you close to be by yourself, is often the same door your best ideas walk through. The solution that arrives in the shower. The thought that finally clicks into place on a walk alone. You're not hiding from the world when you withdraw. Very often, that's precisely when you're making something worth bringing back to it. What's something you've only ever figured out once you finally had the room to yourself? And the fifth trait might be the quietest one of all. A strong, self-authored sense of who you are. The researcher Reed Larson spent years studying how ordinary people actually spend their time alone. And he found something that surprised him. People who spent a moderate amount of time in willing solitude weren't lonelier or worse off. They were often steadier, better adjusted, more grounded than those who couldn't stand to be by themselves. His explanation was simple. Time alone is where you do the private work of becoming a person. Away from everyone's expectations, you get to sort out what you actually value, what you truly feel, and who you're trying to be. This is why you can walk into a room and not get swept away by it. You already know who you are, because you've spent real time getting to know that person. Your identity is authored by you, not assembled from whoever you were last standing next to. In a world constantly telling you who to be, that quiet self-knowledge is rarer than almost anything. How much of who you are was decided in a room, alone? So here's the truth this whole video was built toward. The people who need to recharge alone aren't missing something everyone else has. They're carrying something most people never develop. Emotional security, a way to steady yourself, an independent mind, a creative one, and a self you actually authored. 5 rare traits, all growing quietly out of the time you spend on your own. So the next time you feel guilty for needing space, remember what that space is really for. You're not retreating from your life, you're doing the quiet work that makes you good at it. Here's a small challenge for this week. Take one block of time alone, on purpose, without apologizing to anyone for it. Then notice how different you feel walking back out. And tell me in the comments, which of these 5 traits did you feel most seen by? I read every single one, and I think you'll find you're in good company. If this felt like someone finally describing your inner world, subscribe. This is a quiet corner of the internet, built for minds like yours. One quiet truth, every week. Take care of that thoughtful mind of yours. And I'll see you in the next quiet one.